Okay, we are live streaming and on the record in Dana Nessel versus Chinook Home Care Inc. et al., docket number 16-472CZ. And we had an evidentiary hearing in this matter last week on Tuesday, June 16th. And the court took the matter under advisement to issue a ruling, and this is the time set for the court's ruling following that evidentiary hearing, where the Attorney General is claiming that the defendants are in contempt for violating a permanent injunction. I've considered all the written briefing and all the testimony. That would be the testimony of Vanita Bolden, Rashana Davis, and Jameson Onabuchi, and all of the exhibits that were admitted into evidence and the arguments of counsel. I've assessed credibility and I've applied the burden of proof to the Attorney General, that burden being proof by a preponderance of the evidence. The first question is, are the occupants of 1269 East Michigan Avenue people who are in need of adult foster care? Occupant A, who we've called Barry, requires assistance with administration of meds, meal preparation, transportation, and scheduling physician appointments. Occupant B, who is John, requires assistance while dressing, with personal hygiene, administration of meds, meal preparation, and transportation. He uses a walker as seen by Ms. Bolden, and Ms. Frico, F-R-I-C-O, who was the worker there and apparently is Mr. Onabuchi's sister, confirmed that she has to dress and complete personal hygiene tasks for John. Ms. Davis, in fact, petitioned for a guardian for John. Occupant C, who is Brandy, requires assistance with administration of meds and meal preparations. She suffers from mental illness and has a guardian. Ms. Bolden spoke to the guardian, who verified that Brandy's unable to live on her own or attend to her own affairs. She requires a specialized residential home, such as adult foster care. And even Brandy was able to confirm that she can't live on her own. Occupant D, known as Sherry, needs help preparing meals, completing grocery shopping, administering meds, and with transportation. Per Ms. Davis, Sherry has cognitive issues and is not able to handle her own affairs. Ms. Davis petitioned for a guardian for Sherry. Occupant C, Phyllis, suffers from mental illness. That was occupant E. Occupant F, Tyrone, has a guardian and suffers from mental health issues. Another occupant, known as Mary, has a guardian. And some of the occupants, although not all, some actually came from an adult foster care home before they lived at 1269 East Michigan Avenue. Ms. Bolden was able to have cogent conversations with some of the residents, but others gave answers that made no sense. Ms. Bolden is capable of and did discern that the residents were all in need of adult foster care services. I agree with that conclusion. There's really no doubt whatsoever that the occupants of 1269 East Michigan Avenue are individuals in need of the types of services provided by adult foster care. So the next question is, are they actually receiving adult foster care at 1269 East Michigan Avenue? There is a worker present, and that would be Ms. Frico. We don't know how much she's present, but she was there when Ms. Bolden visited, and she was there for Ms. Davis's first visit. All of the occupants' medications were kept in a locked cabinet. Ms. Bolden personally witnessed that the cabinet had to be unlocked when she requested it, although when Ms. Davis visited, it was indeed unlocked. Ms. Frico confirmed that none of the residents have the mental capacity to follow dosing instructions on the labels of the medication, so staff members dispense all medications. A staff member prepares all meals for the residents, and Ms. Frico confirmed that the residents do not have the mental capacity to prepare meals or to understand their own nutritional needs. The residents rely on Mr. Onobuchi to transport them to doctor's offices, or else Mr. Onobuchi arranges for a doctor to come to the home. None of the residents had vehicles, none of the residents was employed, none of the residents had keys to the home, at least at the time that the visits were made by the state workers. The department had previously investigated homes owned by Mr. Onobuchi at 1654 Weird, W-I-A-R-D, that was in 2017, and 4154 Cadillac, that was in February of 2020. It was determined that Mr. Onobuchi was not in violation at either location because adult foster care was either only being provided to one person, which was the situation at the Weird address, and or that there was no adult foster care being provided, which was the situation at the Cadillac address. So Mr. Onobuchi says he's doing nothing different at 1269 East Michigan Avenue than what he was doing at the other two locations. Furthermore, Mr. Onobuchi says that he's merely providing room and board at 1269 East Michigan Avenue, and he produced housing inspections, which were exhibits C and D, and lease agreements, which were exhibits E through J, that he offered in support of that claim. First, the housing inspections have no probative value because the township is only inspecting the property for compliance with township ordinances. That tells us nothing about the people living there or the care that's being provided to them. The township isn't evaluating the home the way Ms. Bolden and Ms. Davis were. The leases also do not support Mr. Onobuchi's claim, and in some respects, they even cut against it. The rental amounts aren't consistent for all the residents. That alone may not be conclusive, but when asked why, Mr. Onobuchi said in cross-examination that the amounts differ based on the differing needs of the resident. That alone is very incriminating. Landlords don't charge rent based on the tenant's needs because landlords don't provide for a tenant's needs. Landlords don't dispense medication for tenants. Landlords don't provide even one staff member to attend to tenants' needs. Landlords don't provide meals for tenants. Landlords don't transport tenants to the doctor. Landlords don't provide for a doctor to come to the property to care for tenants. Landlords give tenants keys to the property so they can come and go as they please. And landlords don't become their tenants' payee for Social Security. Mr. Onobuchi's testimony is not credible, and it's contradicted by every other piece of evidence in this case. This is a home filled with some 7 to 10 people. At least 6 of them, if not all of them, require assistance with activities of daily living. Most are cognitively impaired or suffer mental illness. They're not capable of living on their own, nor are they safe to do so. They're being provided a variety of services consistent with adult foster care services. By this court's order dated April 5, 2017, the defendants are permanently enjoined from operating an adult foster care facility and providing adult foster care at any location within the state of Michigan without a license for that location. I find by a preponderance of the evidence that defendant Chinook Home Care Inc. and defendant Jameson Onobuchi are operating an unlicensed adult foster care home at 1269 East Michigan Avenue, Ypsilanti, in violation of the permanent injunction. I have no evidence that the other 2 individual defendants are engaging in this activity, but the evidence is beyond a preponderance that Mr. Jameson Onobuchi and Chinook Home Care Inc. are in fact doing that. The penalty for civil contempt is a fine of up to $7,500. This is a flagrant violation of the injunction, and although Mr. Onobuchi professes his innocence, I find that this is a willful violation of the permanent injunction. The maximum fine is called for given the nature of the violation. Therefore, defendant Chinook Home Care Inc. and defendant Jameson Onobuchi are assessed a fine of $7,500 with joint and several liability. That fine will be payable within 30 days. And that completes the ruling of the court. If there's nothing else for the record, that will complete our hearing.
Your Honor, it's Kelly McLean, Assistant Attorney General. I would just like to reiterate or ask for clarification with the court, given that there are still some residents living at 1269 who exhibit that they need adult foster care. I would like, I guess, a reiteration of the permanent injunction that defendants will continue to cooperate with Adult Protective Services or anyone else that may need to come in to evaluate the residents in terms of relocating them.
Well, the permanent injunction is still in place. It
Right.
will remain in place, and it speaks for itself, which does in fact order not only that no adult foster care will be provided unless licensed, it also provides that the defendants and their employees will continue to cooperate and allow the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Adult Protective Service workers, adult foster care licensing workers, and community mental health workers to gain access to the premises and the residents if necessary and where permitted by law.
Thank you.
Anything further?
No, Your Honor, would you like me to prepare an order, or how will that work?
Yeah, I think that would be helpful. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.